You see that patch by your front walk, the one that keeps going brown, no matter what you do. You drag the hose out every single morning before work, you soak it, you feel good about it, and by August, it still looks like a doormat. And here is the part that is going to sting a little. That daily watering you are so proud of is the exact thing killing the grass you are trying to save. I know, because I did it for years. Let me tell you the truth up front. The whole conclusion of this video in one breath. A lawn watered every day grows a shallow, lazy, thirsty root system that cooks in the first heat wave, and a lawn watered deeply just once or twice a week grows roots that dig down half a foot or more and survive a drought that turns your neighbor's yard to straw. Same grass, same yard. The only thing that changed is a habit that costs you nothing to break. I do not take sponsors, and I do not sell you anything, because the whole point here is that the stuff that actually works is either already in your kitchen or costs a couple of dollars at the pharmacy. There is no product at the end of this. There is a method, and I will show you the strangest one at the very end. It comes out of a real turfgrass lab at Iowa State University, a discovery a professor there stumbled onto by accident back in 1986, and it turns a $1 bag of a common ingredient into both a weed blocker and a fertilizer at the same time. Stay with me, because that one changed my whole backyard, and every single thing I am about to show you works on the tired, patchy, established lawn you already have right now. You do not need new sod. You do not need a pro. You need to stop doing one thing and start doing three. Let me take you back to the mistake, because it is probably your mistake too. I had this strip of lawn running along my mailbox, maybe 8 feet of grass, full southern sun all afternoon. Every morning around 6, I would stand out there in my slippers with the hose, giving it a nice 5-minute drink, feeling like the responsible homeowner on the block. And that strip was always the first thing to die. Every July, brown and crunchy, while the shady side by the fence stayed green with almost no attention. It made no sense to me. The part I babied died. The part I ignored lived. So here's the thing nobody at the garden center ever told me. When you water a little bit every day, the water only ever wets the top inch of soil. The grass is not stupid. It grows its roots where the water is. So all those roots crowd up near the surface, right where the sun bakes hardest and the soil dries fastest. You have trained your grass to live in the most dangerous inch of your entire yard. Then one hot week comes, that top inch dries out by noon, and the whole plant has nothing to fall back on. It collapses. Now, flip it around. When you water deeply and then leave the lawn alone for days, the water soaks down 6, 8, even 10 inches. The surface dries out, and the roots go chasing that deeper moisture. They dig. Turfgrass researchers have measured cool season grass roots reaching down past a foot when they are watered this way. A foot of root under your feet is a reservoir. That is a lawn that laughs at a dry spell. Here is exactly how I do it now, and it costs nothing. Instead of 5 minutes every day, I water one long, slow soak, 1 to 2 times a week, and I aim for about 1 inch of water total across the week. And you do not need a fancy meter to measure an inch. This is the trick that made it click for me. I set an empty tuna can out on the grass while the sprinkler runs. When the water in the can is about 1 inch deep, that is your soak. Shut it off. On my yard, that turned out to be right around 30 minutes on that sprinkler. Do that once, maybe twice a week in real heat, early in the morning, so it does not just evaporate off, and that is it. The first summer I switched, that mailbox strip that died every single year stayed green into September. I did not reseed it. I did not feed it anything special. I just stopped drowning it every morning and started soaking it deep twice a week. Same grass that had been dying for years. But that raised a question that honestly made me a little angry. If the fix is this simple, if it is literally doing less and spending nothing, then why did I spend all those years being told the opposite? Why does every bag and every service push you toward more often, more product? That is where this stops being about water. Because somebody profits when your lawn stays a little bit sick. Think about it. A lawn with shallow, stressed roots needs more water, so your bill goes up. Stressed grass gets thin. Thin grass lets weeds in, and now you need weed control. Weak grass is easy prey for bugs and fungus, so now you need the insect treatment and the fungicide. Every weakness sells another product. A truly deep-rooted, healthy lawn is a customer who stops buying. And I am not saying anyone sat in a room and planned that. I am saying an entire industry grew up around treating symptoms. And nobody in that industry has any reason to teach you the one habit that prevents the symptoms in the first place. And the second free fix I found is the same story, hiding in plain sight, right on top of your mower. It is how high you cut. Almost everybody cuts too short. We think a short lawn looks tidy and means we mow less often. I thought that for 20 years. But cutting your grass short is one of the worst things you can do to it, and here is why. The length of the grass blade above the ground is directly tied to the depth of the roots below it. Scalp the top off, and the roots shrink to match. A short lawn is a shallow-rooted lawn all over again, right back to the same problem. And a short lawn bakes at the soil line so the ground dries out faster and you are back to watering more. Worse than that, when you cut low, you expose bare dirt to sunlight. And sunlight on bare soil is exactly what weed seeds have been waiting for. Crabgrass seed needs light and warm soil to sprout. Short mowing hands it both. So, I raised my mower deck, and I mean raised it. For most common lawn grasses, you want to be cutting at around 3 to 3.5 inches tall. On a lot of mowers, that is the highest 1 or 2 settings, the ones most people never touch. Taller grass shades its own roots, keeps the soil cooler and damper, and those taller blades are like little solar panels, feeding a bigger, deeper root system. And that canopy of taller grass throws shade right down onto the soil where weed seeds are sitting, and a weed seed in the shade mostly just sits there and never sprouts. There is one more rule that goes with it, and old-timers knew it long before anybody sold a lawn service. Never cut off more than 1/3 of the blade in a single mow. If your grass is 3 inches tall, you are only taking off about an inch at a time. Take off more than 1/3, and you shock the plant, it dumps energy into panic regrowing leaves instead of feeding its roots, and it goes yellow and weak on you. Just raising my deck and following that 1/3 rule thickened up my lawn more in a single season than any bag of feed I ever bought. The first summer I did both of these together, deep watering and tall mowing, the change was obvious enough that a neighbor actually asked me what service I had hired. I told him nothing, I hired nobody, I just stopped mowing it like a putting green and stopped watering it like a houseplant. He did not believe me. That is fine. He is the same guy who is out there every morning with the hose. If any of this is clicking for you the way it clicked for me, I put everything I know about turning a struggling lawn around the watering, the mowing, the soil fixes into a digital book called The Lawn Fix, and you can find the link in the description below. It goes deeper than I can in a single video, walking you through each step with the exact timing and measurements I use on my own yard, so you are not left guessing when things get complicated. Grab it if you want the whole system in one place, and then let me get back to the part of this that honestly made me a little angry. But now I want to talk to the person who is watching this thinking none of it applies to him. Because I know some of you are sitting there saying, that is fine for a nice lawn, but you have not seen mine. Yours is half weeds and bare dirt and hard-packed clay you can barely push a shovel into. You think these gentle little habits are for people who already have a decent lawn and that your yard is too far gone. I want to talk to you specifically now because this next part is the one that brought my worst area back, and it is the area I would have bet money was dead for good. I had a back corner, foot traffic from the kids and the dog, that was packed down hard as a driveway. Water would not even soak in. It just ran off and pooled. Grass would not grow because the roots physically could not push into concrete hard dirt, and the water I put down never even reached them. If your bad spot is compacted like that, no amount of good watering fixes it because the water cannot get in. So here is the fix, and it costs nothing but an hour of your Saturday. You aerate it by hand. You do not rent a machine. You do not call anyone. You take an ordinary garden fork, a digging fork, and you drive it straight down into the lawn as deep as it will go, then rock it back and forth just a little to open up the holes, and you pull it out. Then you step back 6 inches and do it again. You go across the whole bad patch like that, punching holes everywhere. What you are doing is opening channels so air, water, and roots can finally get down into that soil. It is the exact same thing the expensive aeration service does, just with a $2 yard sale fork and your own body weight. And here is what you do right after, while those holes are open. And this is the part that turns a struggling old lawn around. You spread a thin layer of finished compost right over the top and sweep it down into the holes. Not a thick smothering pile, just a light 1/4 inch layer, a dusting you can still see the grass blades through. This is called top dressing, and it is the single best thing you can do to an existing tired lawn. That compost feeds the soil life, it works down into the aeration holes you just made, and it slowly turns your dead dirt back into living soil that holds water and grows grass. You can make that compost for free out of your own yard waste and kitchen scraps, or grab a cheap bag of it. Then over that same beat-up area, you scatter a little grass seed right into the holes in the compost. The holes cradle the seed and hold moisture around it, the compost feeds it, and now you go back to that deep, once or twice a week watering to help it root in. That is the whole recipe for reviving an existing lawn. Fork, compost, seed, deep water. No sod, no machine, no professional, no expensive program. I brought that concrete hard dog corner back to real grass in one season doing exactly that, and I did not spend more than a few dollars on a bag of seed. And I want to give you one more free feeding trick for that existing lawn, because I know the next thought is, do I not still need to buy fertilizer? Stop bagging your clippings. I mean it. When you mow and you catch all the clippings and haul them to the curb, you are literally throwing away the best free fertilizer you will ever have. Grass clippings are mostly water and nitrogen, the exact nutrient in the expensive bags. Leave them on the lawn. As long as you are mowing regularly and only taking off that top third, the clippings are small, they fall down into the canopy, and they break down in a week or two and feed the roots for free. Turf researchers have put a number on this. Leaving your clippings on the lawn over a season returns roughly the equivalent of one of your yearly fertilizer feedings, something on the order of 25 to 30% of everything that lawn needs, given right back to it for absolutely nothing. And it does not cause thatch. That is an old myth. Clippings break down far too fast to pile up. I stopped bagging years ago. My lawn got greener, my mowing got faster, and I quit hauling bags to the curb, doing less, again, and getting more. So now you have got the deep watering, the tall mowing, the hand aeration and top dressing, and the free clipping feed. That right there, done for basically nothing, will beat most of the lawns on your street. But I promised you the strange one, the one out of the research lab, and this is the payoff I have been holding back because it is the thing that finally solved the last problem I had, which was weeds. Here is the setup. Every spring, my lawn would fill up with crabgrass and other weeds, and the only thing anyone ever told me to do was buy a chemical pre-emergent, this synthetic stuff you spread to stop weed seeds from sprouting. It works, but I hated putting it down with the dog and the grandkids running around out there, and it does nothing to feed the lawn. So I went really looking through university turf research for whether there was a natural way to stop weeds before they start, and I found something almost nobody talks about. Back in 1986, a turfgrass professor named Nick Christians at Iowa State University was running experiments. And he was actually working on something else entirely, studying a disease using cornmeal as a growing medium. And he noticed something he was not looking for. Wherever this corn material had been, grass seed would not sprout. It stopped seeds from putting down roots. He had accidentally stumbled onto a natural pre-emergent, hiding inside one of the most ordinary things in the country. The ingredient is corn gluten meal, a plain byproduct of milling corn, the same stuff that has been used as animal feed for 100 years. Iowa State went on to patent it as a natural weed preventer around 1991, and it has been quietly backed by real university trials ever since. Here is how it works and why it is so clever. Corn gluten meal releases a natural compound that stops sprouting seeds from forming their first tiny root. The seed tries to germinate, it cannot anchor itself, and if the surface dries out at the right moment, it dies right there. So it knocks back crabgrass and other weeds as they try to come up in spring, no synthetic chemical at all. But here's the part that made me sit up. Corn gluten meal is about 10% nitrogen by weight. Nitrogen is the exact thing in your fertilizer bag. So this one cheap ingredient is doing two jobs at the same time. It is blocking weed seeds, and it is feeding your existing grass a slow, gentle dose of nitrogen. A weed preventer and a fertilizer in one bag for a few dollars. There is one thing you absolutely have to get right or it will not work, and this is the part I learned the hard way: timing. Because corn gluten meal stops any seed from rooting, it cannot tell a weed seed from a grass seed. So you put it down in early spring before the weeds sprout, right about when you see the forsythia blooming or the soil starts to warm. That is your window. And you do not put down grass seed at the same time because it will stop your good seed too. You do your overseeding in the fall and your corn gluten meal in the early spring, and you keep those two jobs on opposite ends of the year. Get the timing right, and you are stopping weeds and feeding your lawn in a single pass with something that is completely safe to walk on with bare feet and safe around the dog. Now think about what that actually means when you add it all up. The pre-emergent, the spring fertilizer, the water bill, the aeration service, the fertilizer you were bagging up and throwing in the trash. A lawn service quotes you a few $100s a season for a program that is essentially those exact steps, and half of it is stuff you can do better for a few dollars in an hour of your time. I have watched dead patches come back, I have watched crabgrass thin out, I have watched hard clay turn soft, and I did not spend real money on any of it. That is the part that still gets me. It was never complicated. It was just never sold to me, because there is no profit in telling a man to water less and mow high and spread a $2 bag of cornmeal. So let me hand it to you plainly, the way I wish somebody had handed it to me 20 years ago and saved me all that money and all those dead summers. You are not a bad gardener, and your yard is not cursed. You were just taught to care for it in the exact way that keeps it weak and keeps you buying. Water deep and seldom so the roots dig down, mow tall so the grass shades out the weeds and feeds itself, poke your holes, spread your compost, leave your clippings. And when spring comes, reach for the corn, not the chemical. That is the whole thing. There is nothing behind a paywall here, no product I am walking you toward, because a lawn was never supposed to cost what they charge you for it. You strike me as the kind of person who would rather understand his own yard than keep writing checks to somebody who is counting on him not to. That is exactly who this is for. Now I actually want to hear from you on one thing. Tell me about your worst patch, the specific spot in your yard that keeps dying no matter what. Is it a sunny strip like my mailbox was, or a hard-packed corner like my back one? Tell me which one it is down in the comments, because I read them and I answer, and I can usually tell you which of these 4 fixes is the one that will bring it back. Drop it below, right now, before you forget. And if you are the kind of homeowner who is done being overcharged for something the ground wants to do for free, come along with the rest of us here who are figuring this out one cheap experiment at a time. That is what this is, a bunch of neighbors comparing notes instead of getting sold to. Subscribe and stick around, because the next thing I am testing is a common pantry item. Some old-timers swear will kill the weeds growing right up through your driveway, cracks, and your sidewalk. No chemical spray at all, and I am running it on my own concrete right now to see if it actually holds up. I will show you exactly what happens, the parts that work and the parts that flop. I will see you in that one. Before you go, one thing. This video gave you the overview, but inside the Honest Lawn Circle, I walk you through the full deep soak method with the Iowa State cornmeal trick, step by step for your own yard. And you can ask me your own question right there, and I answer you myself, not some robot. You won't be doing this alone, so many lawn keepers like you are already inside. Just point your phone camera at the code on screen and cancel anytime with one click. Now, if your grass has turned yellow, more water won't fix it. There's a simple $2 powder from the drugstore that brings the green right back. I'll show you exactly how, right here.